Welcome, dear viewers, to our channel. Today we dive into a gripping tale of mystery and deduction, following every clue and secret step. Prepare yourself for intrigue, suspense, and the clever unraveling of a puzzling crime that will keep you guessing until the very last moment. Mr. Bunter lifted his head cautiously from beneath the focusing cloth, bowing politely. "That should be sufficient for today, sir. Unless there are additional specimens needing examination now." Dr. Hartman shook his head, a faint smile crossing his young, haggard features. He gently returned the last afflicted rat to its cage, handling it with practiced care. "Perhaps, if Lord Peter is free, you could spare another 3 days for progress or review," suggested the doctor, glancing at the cluttered laboratory filled with jars and instruments. Lord Peter withdrew his long, curious nose from the dull-looking glass containers. "Yes, quite so. Always a pleasure to assist a fellow sleuth, especially tracking murders quietly," he murmured. He waved vaguely toward a small dog, resting nearby. "Good little animal, always wags its tail. Seems to understand the conversation in a very peculiar, affectionate manner, indeed," Lord Peter noted. "What exactly are these specimens, monkey glands, Harmon, or some exotic variation of anatomy?" asked the doctor, laughing lightly at the odd question, shaking his head in amusement. "No need to play tricks with eyeglasses," whimsy Dr. Hartman said with a grin. "I know the methods you employ. No foolish games will deceive me, I assure you." Whimsy continued, "I mentioned to Bunter how grateful I would be if you returned in 3 days to assess progress, assuming the specimens actually improve in condition." "Always delighted to help, old thing," Lord Peter replied, leaning back. "It is satisfying assisting a fellow investigator, especially when our work involves careful, quiet observation of results." "All finished?" asked Dr. Hartman, examining the laboratory. "Excellent. Mend the rat cage soon. Patient number 5 seems capable of escaping, assisted by its clever, intelligent antics. Most amusing indeed. Jolly little beasts." Whimsy chuckled softly. "No dentists required for them. I wish I could be a rat myself. Less nerve-wracking than that fizzling, whirring dental drill at the clinic." Dr. Hartman's eyes widened, startled. "How did you notice that whimsy? I hadn't thought you observed the cage at all, but apparently practice enhances even subtle awareness." "Observation comes with experience," Lord Peter said, voice calm. "Small anomalies leave impressions on the eye, later recalled by the mind. I only barely noticed at first glance." "Yes, it struck me immediately," Whimsy agreed. Though distracted, it showed the subject's improvement. "Everything appears calm and controlled. Laboratory work is proceeding with satisfactory, almost serene results today." The manservant packed up cameras and plates, quietly restoring order to the small laboratory. Compact fittings, like those of an ocean liner, had been disrupted temporarily by careful, detailed experimentation. "Well said, Dr. Hartman. Admitted I am greatly obliged to you, Lord Peter, and to Bunter. These photographs will provide invaluable records for my ongoing delicate experiments and observation. I cannot afford such photography at the hospital," the young doctor added, wistfully, eyes lingering on the large camera. "My practice demands constant attention. Even minor visits make the difference between stability and hardship." As Mr. Makoba often remarked, Whimsy said thoughtfully, "Income 2, expenditure 19 shillings, 16 result happiness. 20 shillings or 6 pence expenditure result misery. No need to express excessive gratitude, old bean." And Bunter Whimsy added, "Smiling thrives on handling pyro and hyposulfite. Keeps his hand in handling fingerprints, developing plates a strange joy. Yet focal plane work on tiny rodents provides unexpected satisfaction." Mr. Bunter sighed, brushing dust from his coat. "I declare London has bewitched me lately. I've taken to observing neighbors curious beyond reason, keeping idle thoughts at bay. The other day I frightened the postman into panic, merely inquiring after a young lady connected to him. Married man living at Ormond Street, quite startled indeed." "How did you know?" Hartman asked with a raised eyebrow. Bunter chuckled softly. I didn't exactly. He lives opposite my friend, Inspector Parker, and his rather unsuspecting wife. Not Parker himself, mind. He's unmarried." I mean, the postman Bunter clarified, shaking his head. I merely prompted a casual observation of flying shows, nothing more than idle conversation. Parker, being absent-minded, blurted out an unconsidered answer. A minor slip, really. I merely supplied him a gentle hint in season, if one can say that politely. Dr. Hartman laughed, adjusting his spectacles. Uncommonly thoughtless of Parker indeed. Come stay for lunch. Only cold meats and salad, I'm afraid. My housekeeper is off today. I must answer my own door, Hartman added ruefully. Deuced unprofessional, yes, but unavoidable. One cannot halt the affairs of an entire household for punctuality alone, unfortunately. Pleasure, said Whimsy, cheerfully stepping through the narrow back door. The dark, modest flat smelled faintly of disinfectant and fresh bread from a previous meal. Did you build this place yourself? Lord Peter asked, glancing at the sloping glass roof, streaked faintly with dust from previous occupants. No, the last tenant was an artist. That explains the unusual layout. Very useful, though ramshackle. Ideal for ground floor, inexpensive and serviceable for current experiments, the doctor explained. This glass ceiling swelters terribly on hot days, Hartman noted, wiping his brow. Still a small price for functionality. Until my vitamin work gains fame, it must suffice. You'll be the coming man, Lord Peter observed, smiling. I can feel it in my bones. Laboratory practicalities aside, your small kitchen is uncommonly tidy and well-arranged. Yes, indeed, Hartman replied. The laboratory casts a shadow over daytime comfort, but the housekeeper only visits briefly. Otherwise, I manage alone, grateful for minimal disturbance. They entered the narrow dining room, where a modest table was set for cold lunch. A single window looked out to bustling Great James Street, partially shaded. The room resembled a passage more than a dining area, with multiple doors, kitchen entrance hall, and one leading to a compact consulting room, barely visible from their vantage point. Lord Peter, Whimsy, and Dr. Hartman seated themselves. The doctor suggested Mr. Bunter join them. Bunter, however, preferred tradition, attending them in his usual respectful manner. No use, Whimsy said with a grin. Bunter enjoys knowing his place. Terrifying sort of man, he keeps control, yet with unwavering decorum and quiet authority over proceedings. Mr. Bunter poured water with solemn dignity, respecting the old crusted port. His movements precise, measured entirely appropriate for a gentleman attending to ceremony and silent observance. It was a Sunday afternoon halcyon, yet stiflingly warm. The narrow street nearly empty except for the ice cream vendor, leaning against a green post serving a busy, noisy trade. Bloomsbury's children remained indoors, consuming steamy Sunday meals unsuitable for the tropical heat. The only audible disturbance came from above, where heavy steps marked the upper flat's passage. Who is the merry fellow above? Lord Peter inquired, observing the rhythmic footsteps overhead. Not an early riser, I take it. Perhaps Providence fancies tormenting city dwellers. I ought to be in the country, Hartman muttered, but obligations summon me to Victoria later. Even on a Sunday, one must honor such appointments, unfortunately unavoidable. This afternoon presented a peculiar, almost theatrical domestic scene. Lord Peter, Whimsy, silently analyzing the upper room, wondering who occupied it, wife or companion, noting every minor sound carefully. Hartman looked at him with restrained amusement, aware that Peter's curiosity bordered on the intrusive, yet was tempered by intelligence and keen observation, a subtle skill honed over time. I hope you forgive my incessant probing, Whimsy remarked lightly. It is a habit difficult to restrain, for human behavior reveals itself in the smallest unguarded movements. The creak of an iron bedstead above, unmistakable, signaled a heavy figure moving, yet Peter considered it could be a couch shifting under weight, leaving auditory clues easily misinterpreted. High-heeled footsteps clicked rhythmically from kitchen to sitting room, carrying plates, utensils, and small domestic implements, revealing patterns of care and efficiency indicative of long-established household routines. Hartman's expression showed mild exasperation, realizing Peter had not only absorbed his vitamin B lecture, but also cataloged the subtle, repeated sounds of domestic activity overhead. Bunter entered, discreetly retrieved matches, and departed silently, leaving the upper floor lady to continue her tasks, demonstrating competence, routine, and persistence, which Peter mentally noted with satisfaction. Peter reflected on subtle sensory impressions, how one perceives actions without deliberate attention, and only later recognizes the significance constructing coherent narratives from fragmented, latent clues. Just as photographic plates remain invisible until developed, Peter observed that human behavior often remains latent until one's mind processes the data, carefully revealing underlying patterns of habit and character. The couple above deduced Peter comprised a husband somewhat surly, yet devoted, indifferent to chores, but generous in gift-giving his actions, reflecting affection and pride in his wife's daily diligence. The wife's movements displayed charm, energy, and precision. Her dark hair, expressive eyes, and poised figure conveyed elegance, domestic competence, and unassuming confidence perfectly suited to her husband's temperament. Peter recalled her youthful allure, social grace, and occasional visits from old admirers, as well as minor neighborhood incidents, providing glimpses of both her popularity and the small dangers of urban life. The street below, quiet except for occasional children's voices, and the ice cream vendor contrasted with the upstairs activity, emphasizing the layered, simultaneous rhythms of city life and domestic intricacy. Each step, clatter, and movement above revealed nuanced insights into personality discipline and domestic priorities, turning mere observation into a methodical, analytical exercise for Peter Whimsy. Peter noted the husband's Sunday lethargy contrasted with his wife's industrious energy, a typical pattern reflecting broader truths about domestic partnerships, gender expectations, and marital dynamics in a modest urban household. Even minor gestures such as the placement of utensils or careful movement of chairs contributed to a full mental reconstruction of daily life above each action, weighted with subtle significance in Peter's mind. Bunter's quiet efficiency in the laboratory below paralleled the upstairs routine, an unspoken symmetry between human diligence and methodical observation, reinforcing Peter's understanding of latent patterns in both human and experimental domains. Life in this narrow Bloomsbury street with mundane routines, occasional social disturbances, and domestic diligence presented a living tableau for Whimsy's analytical mind, transforming ordinary Sunday activity into a study of human behavior. I'm living amid infant diarrhea outbreaks, chiefly exacerbated by the hot weather, with autumn flu and bronchitis settled in, making occasional pneumonia a distinct possibility. Legs suffer, of course, with varicose veins troubling me constantly. God, how I long to escape for uninterrupted experiments, I cried, gesturing wildly with frustration. Ah, said Peter thoughtfully, where is that eccentric millionaire from novels, lightning diagnosis, and miraculous cure in tow? Surely he must exist somewhere extraordinary. God bless you, Dr. Peter, continued producing a check casually. Here are £5,000. That sort doesn't live in Bloomsbury, does it? The doctor shook his head, wistful. No, Peter. Fascinating cases diagnosing strange ailments, how one parses symptoms, linking subtle signs to invisible pathology. Peter considered this, tapping his fingers. Is there a fixed set of symptoms per disease? Or is it like calling a card in whist strategy and judgment? No, not simply, said Hartman. One cannot deduce fatty degeneration merely from a pimple. Diagnosis is like crime detection cues, must be interpreted in context carefully. You see, said Peter, you notice details? Room, body, disorder. Things tossed about, and from this chaotic scene extract the clues telling the story clearly. That's closer, said Hartman. Some signs such as scurvy-afflicted gums are significant alone, while others gain meaning only when interpreted in conjunction with a pattern. They paused, then both jumped as a shrill scream pierced the flat above, followed by a thud, a man's panicked voice, calling out lamentably, feet scrambling furiously. Frozen in alarm, the doctor and Peter watched as a huge fair man hurtled down the stairs, hammering Hartman's door, frantically screaming, "Help! Help! My wife! She's been murdered!" They rushed to open the door. He stumbled inside, shirt sleeves and stockings, disheveled hair on end, face a mask of bewilderment and raw, frantic misery. "She's dead," he groaned, voice trembling. "Come quickly, doctor. I've lost my wife, my Melina," He paused, eyes darting wildly as hysteria gripped him completely. Someone's broken in, somehow, stabbed her, murdered her. "Oh, doctor, come. She was cooking chicken for my dinner." He shrieked, voice rising, then collapsed into hiccuping sobs. Hartman grabbed him roughly by the arm, shaking him sharply. "Pull yourself together, Mr. Brotherton," he commanded. "Perhaps she is only injured. Stand back and let me assess her." "Only hurt," the man echoed incredulously, collapsing heavily into a nearby chair. "No. Now she's dead. Little Melina." "Oh my God!" Tears and disbelief contorting his face entirely. Hartman snatched a roll of bandages and a few surgical instruments from the consulting room, moving swiftly upstairs, Peter close behind, assessing the scene with professional composure. Bunter stayed momentarily dousing hysterics with cold water, then moved to the dining room window, shouting for attention to coordinate help from the street below. "Well, what is it called, a voice? Would you step in here a minute, officer?" "There's been a murder," said Bunter, calm but urgent, gesturing frantically to the entrance. When Brotherton and Bunter reached the upstairs flat with the constable, they found Hartman and Peter in the tiny kitchen, the doctor kneeling beside the woman's body. He looked up as they entered, shaking his head gravely. "Death instantaneous, clean through the heart," he announced. "Poor child, she cannot have suffered." "Oh, Constable, you are fortunate to be here. Murder seems evident?" Hartman continued glancing around. "The perpetrator likely escaped, but Mr. Brotherton may provide crucial information. He was present at the time of the incident." The man had sunk heavily into a chair, eyes fixed on the body face, utterly blank, as though all comprehension had been violently erased from his features. The policeman, notebook in hand, spoke briskly. "Now, sir, let's waste no time. The sooner we begin, the greater our chance of capturing this man. You were present at the scene, yes?" he asked Brotherton. The man hesitated, staring blankly, then drew a deep, shuddering breath before replying steadily. "I was in the sitting room, smoking and reading the newspaper," Brotherton said, "when I heard her scream from the kitchen preparing dinner for us. I rushed in immediately and found her collapsed on the floor. She had no chance to speak. She was already dead when I arrived at her side. I ran to the window and saw the man scrambling across the glass roof. I shouted, but he vanished instantly into the shadows before I could react. Then I descended to the street as fast as I could, hoping perhaps she might still breathe, though I knew deep down it was hopeless." "Did you attempt to pursue him?" "Immediately," asked the policeman, frowning at Brotherton with impatience as the tension in the room thickened unbearably. "My first thought was for her safety," Brotherton replied, voice trembling. "I wanted to see if I could revive her to help her in any way possible." "Did the intruder enter through the window?" the policeman asked, leaning forward, scrutinizing the scene as though clues lay etched in the walls themselves. "I beg your pardon?" Officer interrupted Lord Peter quietly, studying the kitchen contents with meticulous, detached attention. "Mr. Brotherton suggested the window. Accuracy is paramount." "That's the only feasible entrance," said Dr. Hartman. "All these flats share the same layout." "The staircase leads to the sitting room, where Mr. Brotherton was waiting. If he had tried the bedroom window," Peter continued, "we should have seen him. We were in the room below, observing the movements of the floor above attentively." "Was the door between the bedroom and sitting room open?" he asked suddenly, turning sharply to Brotherton. The man hesitated, uncertainty flickering across his face. "Yes," he said finally, "but I am convinced it was. I could not have avoided seeing him had he entered through the bedroom window directly." "Come, sir," the constable said sharply, "let me ask the questions. Why wouldn't the man use the bedroom window in full public view of the street? How clever of you to deduce that whimsy," said with admiration. "It never occurred to me. Therefore it must have been this kitchen window, as you suggest. And there are marks on the sill," the constable added triumphantly, pointing to smeared traces amidst the grime and soot coating the old window pane of the kitchen. "That's right," said Brotherton, nodding. He descended via the drainpipe over the glass roof, landing quietly in the yard below, evading immediate detection. "The roof of my laboratory," Hartman exclaimed aghast. "He passed directly over us during dinner." "That murdering villain?" Indeed, agreed the constable calmly. He escaped over the adjoining wall into the court behind. No one saw him, but it explains his disappearance perfectly. Have you any idea what the man looked like? Peter inquired, turning to Brotherton, whose expression had hardened with a mixture of anger and fear. Brotherton's gaze was wild, almost unhinged. The doctor interposed gently. Constable, you ought to know. About 8 weeks ago, a similar attack was attempted on this same woman. The assailant was a man named Marinetti Hartman continued, an Italian waiter knife in hand. He had threatened her before, but was fortunately apprehended without injury. The policeman licked his pencil, eager to record every detail. Do you know this man personally? He asked Penn, poised to capture the answer precisely. That man, Brotherton said, voice trembling with concentrated fury, came here menacing my wife. God curse him, I wish to God I had him dead beside me now. Her indeed, said the policeman, his tone, cautious eyes shifting toward the doctor. Now, sir, have you recovered any trace of the instrument responsible for this horrendous tragedy? No, Hartman replied, firmly, lips pressed. Upon my arrival, no weapon remained in the body. Whoever committed this act removed it immediately, leaving only silence and despair. Sir, did you yourself remove it in haste? Asked the constable, leaning forward, pen poised ready to commit every minute detail to his notebook. No, Brotherton answered, voice trembling, hands shaking. I did not touch it. It vanished along with the assailant who fled without hesitation, leaving devastation in his wake. Very well, the constable murmured, scribbling rapidly. Incredible. This entire sequence, every motion is noted here, sir. Accuracy is vital for capturing the culprit promptly. Peter, examining the kitchen casually, suggested mildly, perhaps it's the gas oven heating unattended in midsummer. Shall I turn it off, doctor? There's still the chicken inside. Brotherton groaned softly. The constable nodded solemnly. Quite right, sir. No one could possibly enjoy a meal now after witnessing this shocking, sudden carnage within their home. Doctor, Peter continued, curiosity rising, what kind of weapon would inflict such a precise wound? Long, narrow Italian stiletto, perhaps, piercing, instantly leaving minimal blood, efficient in design. Exactly, Hartman said, steady voice analyzing. Approximately 6 inches thrust beneath the 5th rib piercing centrally. Instantaneous death. The precision is remarkable, cruel, leaving almost no external evidence. She was found lying on her back, just as she remains now, correct, sir? The constable asked. Brotherton nodded, face pale, voice choked but controlled. Indeed, Brotherton replied. The body's position indicates she never had a chance. Death was instantaneous, the assault swift. No defense, no struggle, only terror and finality. Clear enough, then, observed the constable. This Marinetti, or whatever name he uses, bore resentment, possibly romantic obsession. Attack executed methodically, without hesitation, targeting her alone in the kitchen. Precisely, Hartman agreed. Even typically decent individuals sometimes act violently when passion or obsession overtakes reason. It seems almost instinctive, cruelly natural, horrifying in its suddenness. Picture the scenario, Peter mused. He enters, closes behind her, seizes her at the table alone, preparing dinner. Quick, merciless she is, caught unawares, unable to react. She screams, interjected the constable, voice tight. He withdraws the stiletto and flees immediately, leaving no evidence behind. Clean, merciless execution. The efficiency is chilling, utterly deliberate. We must locate him immediately, Peter said with authority. By your leave, sir, I will ensure swift apprehension. This criminal cannot escape the consequences of his actions. Scene security is paramount, Hartman advised. Place a guard. Keep the area clear. But first, let us but move the poor lady, carefully preserving dignity and respect in this moment of horror. Lord Peter, Whimsy remarked, Bunter's skill suits this task. His steadiness and precision make him ideal for handling delicate, tragic duties like this one. The doctor glanced at him, surprised, yet made no objection. Together, Hartman and Bunter lifted the lifeless form, carrying her from the kitchen with careful, solemn reverence. Brotherton remained seated, grief-stricken face buried in hands unmoving. His entire being seemed consumed by shock, disbelief, and the crushing weight of sudden loss. Lord Peter moved among the remnants of domestic life, examining knives, utensils, scattered bread, butter, vegetables. A silent witness to the ordinary routine, brutally interrupted. Half-peeled potatoes lay abandoned in the sink, green peas in the colander, evidence of ordinary Sunday preparations, now rendered tragic by violence and fear invading the household. Peter's fingers traced bowls of flour, glanced into a dish of dripping, as if divining meaning, contemplating the disruption of a familiar, ordinary domestic rhythm. He drew his pipe slowly from his pocket, filling it with quiet deliberation, pausing to consider the minutiae, the shattered normalcy, the traces of life violently interrupted. The doctor returned, hand resting gently on Brotherton's shoulder. "Come," he said softly. "We've laid her in the other bedroom. She seems peaceful now, aside from that fleeting moment of terror." "She suffered nothing," Hartman reassured, voice steady. "It's dreadful for you, but control yourself. The police cannot restore her life. She's gone, leave her memory intact." The man stood abruptly, fists clenched, eyes wild. "She's dead. Curse you all. Leave me alone, I say. Don't sit here mocking me. Leave me alone." "Sit down calmly, Brotherton," Hartman said, firmly placing a hand on his shoulder. "I'll give you something to steady yourself. You must try to remain composed." After some gentle urging, Brotherton allowed himself to be guided away, trembling, grief-stricken, uncomprehending. His head-bowed posture, stooped, utterly consumed by sorrow and shock. Bunter stepped quietly aside. Lord Peter, voice low, remarked, "Do you know why I have doubts about the success of Dr. Hartman's rat experiments?" Bunter. "My lord," Bunter replied, or jured, "I understand you mean Dr. Hartman's theories. Yes. You suspect the conclusions may be misleading or incomplete in practice." Peter's eyes darkened. "Precisely. He sees only the facts which fit neatly into his hypotheses. Facts not matching the theory are dismissed, overlooked, ignored entirely. And then," he added bitterly, "those facts are provided to the authorities, shaping conclusions that may mislead any investigation entirely, my dear Bunter." "My lord, hush," Peter said gently as the doctor returned, composed but tense. "I've had him lie down. Best is to leave him alone for a moment." Whimsy's brow furrowed. "I don't agree. Leaving him like this alone seems dangerous. Grief this deep may drive him to irrational, self-destructive behavior." Hartman shook his head, voice calm but firm. "In grief, presence of others can irritate. He begged to be left alone. We must respect that, yet stay near discreetly." Peter's voice sharpened. "For God's sake, return to him. He must not be left unguarded. Watch him closely, every motion, every breath, Bunter. Understand, don't stray." "This isn't about your patient alone, Doctor," Whimsy interjected, tone clipped. "A crime has occurred. Investigation matters. There are mysteries everywhere, 20 for every one obvious clue." "Take, for instance, the window cleaner," Peter said, lightly puffing at his pipe. "Who knows when he last appeared or where cleaners vanish between visits? Do they hibernate like busy bees?" Hartman frowned, irritated voice stiff. "Lord Peter, really this speculation exceeds the limits. Let's focus on matters relevant to the case, not hypotheticals about minor routines." Peter smiled, faintly undeterred. "I understand your irritation, Doctor. Curiosity persists. Observe the tracks. Yesterday he came at the same hour. Precision matters. Timing always provides insight." "Absolutely," Hartman admitted grudgingly. "But our priority remains Brotherton. He must not be left alone. Every moment unobserved increases the risk of further self-harm or uncontrolled grief." "Where is Bunter now?" Whimsy asked. The bedroom door opened unobtrusively. Mr. Bunter appeared, silent, attentive, vigilant eyes, scanning every gesture, every subtle sign of agitation from Brotherton. "Good," Whimsy murmured. "Stay there. Observe quietly. No interference. The smallest distraction now could trigger panic. Your manner must remain calm, reassuring, invisible, yet effective. Bunter's laconic expression had vanished, replaced by intensity. He regarded the doctor with professional scrutiny, recalling past discussions, the scream, the sounds of rapid footsteps, and their significance. Hartman, aware of Bunter's gaze, nodded subtly. Something is wrong. Reflect on the symptoms, the sequence of events, the interruptions, the clues left in the moments between terror and action. Which direction did they run in? Peter asked, voice deliberate, eyes scanning the room. I'm sure I don't know, Brotherton admitted, still shaking, grief etched across his face. They've been troubling me subconsciously, Hartman observed, frowning. Now I understand why they fled the kitchen. Every step, every movement leaves an imprint on the mind. Peter's gaze shifted. Well, and the window cleaner. Could you swear it wasn't him making those marks on the sill? Could he have been involved? We've examined the laboratory roof, Hartman replied cautiously. Footprints none match. As for the weapon, Whimsy's lips tightened, eyes, narrowing thoughts, racing mind searching for the missing clue. This is madness, Whimsy muttered. Someone took the weapon, I know it. But consider, was the edge of the wound smooth or rough? Could it be a stiletto? Brotherton looked bewildered. I don't understand. Whimsy turned sharply. There's a clue here in this flat. I've seen it. I know I have. It'll return to me. Meanwhile, we must prevent Brotherton from acting impulsively, Peter said quietly, pacing. Let him not touch anything. Keep him under observation. Any interference could destroy the trace entirely. What is it, Whimsy, tell me? Bunter whispered, cautious but eager. Peter shook his head. If I could, Bunter, I would. But first, the bedroom doors stayed open or shut, holds the secret. Doctor, make an excuse, Peter instructed. Strip him, fetch his clothes, and send Bunter to me. I must examine everything with method, precision, and utmost care. Hartman hesitated, puzzled, then inclined slightly and moved to comply. Peter followed, eyes ruminating, glancing at Brotherton with a quiet assessment of guilt, fear, and shock. Once in the sitting room, Peter sank into a red velvet armchair, fixing his gaze on a gilt-framed autograph. He allowed himself to sink into contemplative thought. Bunter returned arms laden with clothing. Whimsy received them, laying each item methodically, but his mind wandered, searching, piecing fragments of memory, seeking the incongruity that pricked the subconscious. Suddenly, he dropped the garments. No, Bunter, he said, voice sharp, eyes bright. This is a precaution, but I'm on the wrong track. The clue wasn't here, it was in the kitchen. What was it? Bunter asked, curiosity piqued. Peter shook his head, thoughtful. I cannot say precisely, but I was aware consciously yet not fully that something was amiss, something subtly inconsistent. Hooray, he muttered, smiling faintly. For the subconscious mind, now recall the kitchen. Start at the door. Frying pans, saucepans, gas stove oven with the chicken inside utensils scattered everywhere. Rack of wooden spoons, pan lifter, gas lighter, mantelpiece spice boxes. Observe meticulously. Any anomaly might be the spark, leading to revelation, no matter how trivial or small it appears. Dresser plates, knives, forks, all cleaned milk, jug nutmeg grater, 3-tiered steamer. Peter listed voice, almost meditative. Inside the steamer, nothing unusual. But remember, minor details can be deceptive. Bunter, did you inspect all dresser drawers? Peter inquired. No, my lord, Bunter replied. That remains. But my attention was caught elsewhere. There was something lingering in the dripping. Peter nodded subtly. Yes, the dripping. Observe it carefully. Something in that vile, greasy substance interrupts the order, the expectation. There's a hint concealed amidst the domestic chaos. Knifeboard kitchen table, remnants of ham and herbs, packets, plates, butter, and a bowl of dripping. Peter continued walking slowly, hand tracing edges. It is here somewhere, hidden in plain sight. He paused, gaze distant, voice softening. When I was a child, Bunter, I used to laugh, running into the kitchen talking with old Cookie, discussing meals. Memory. Memory is crucial in detection. I can see her now, vividly preparing the chicken with steady hands, leg swinging on the table, lost in her own rhythmic domestic motions, utterly unaware of danger. I watched her intently, fascinated by each precise movement. Little creatures, boys are they not, Bunter? She plucked, drew, washed, stiffened, tucked each action. Deliberate, ritualistic, almost hypnotic. The little tail, neatly trussed, carefully greased into the dish. "Hold the dripping, my lord," Peter murmured, noting every subtle anomaly, connecting tiny observations to the dreadful mystery surrounding them. The bowl, smooth surface full of dripping. Something felt off, instinctive unease pricking his mind. The full bowl, harmless in appearance, yet a subtle clue, hidden in plain sight. Why shouldn't it be full, the bird in the oven, dripping absent? Evidently hastily prepared done in a rush, concealing the violent truth beneath ordinary domestic activity. Pluck, draw, wash, stuff, tuck, truss. Each act imprinted in memory, forming mental chains. Peter connected these details to the hidden horror, mentally replaying the kitchen scene. By God, my lord. "Come on, Bunter," he shouted, sudden inspiration, illuminating his features, a surge of urgency, compelling immediate action before evidence was disturbed. He dashed through the bedroom, ignoring the doctor and Brotherton, who recoiled in shock, suppressed shriek, escaping, suspended between grief panic and disbelief at the unfolding scene. Thrown open, the oven door revealed the baking tin. The bird's skin had just begun to color, signaling the fleeting moment of opportunity to uncover the concealed weapon. Grasping the iron wing ring, Whimsy jerked the 6-inch spiral skewer free, tangible proof of murder, linking all threads in the web of observation and deduction he had painstakingly woven. The doctor struggled with Brotherton, who tried to intervene, panic-stricken. Whimsy, calm and precise, twisted him aside with a controlled jujitsu maneuver. "Here is the weapon," he announced decisively. "Prove it! Blast you!" Brotherton roared, eyes wild grief and rage coalescing. "I will," Whimsy replied, calm, methodical, authoritative, commanding control over the chaotic scene surrounding him. Bunter fetched the policeman. "Doctor, bring the microscope to the laboratory immediately." Precision, careful procedure, and attention to detail now dictated every action in their grim task. The doctor bent over the microscope. A thin layer of blood from the skewer had been spread meticulously on the slide, ready for analysis, preserving critical forensic evidence. "All right," said Whimsy, impatient tension mounting. Hartman nodded. "The roasting didn't penetrate the center. The evidence remains intact. Blood corpuscles preserved, crucial for identification." "My God, Whimsy," Peter muttered, astonished. "Yes, you're right. Round corpus diameter 1/3621. Mammalian blood. Probably human. Her blood." Relief mixed with the grim reality of the crime. Very clever, Bunter observed quietly, reverent of Whimsy's skill. Had the bird cooked longer, all forensic traces might have been obliterated, destroying crucial evidence beyond hope. The unpremeditated crime often leaves the perpetrator exposed, Whimsy reflected. Now, Bunter, consider the man's motive. Youth impulses, jealousy, perhaps a deep, ungoverned passion. In my youth-forced Bible readings, only forbidden books drew me. Whimsy continued introspective. Song of Songs, memorized knowledge of human desire, engraved early, a strange guide to jealousy and cruelty. Look it up, Bunter. At your age, it instructs on envy obsession, the grave-like depth of jealousy. Keep it in mind, note its precision, its insight. Bunter's face flushed. "I have read it, my lord," he admitted humbly. "And yes, as I recall, jealousy is cruel as the grave merciless, consuming hearts without reason." What an extraordinary day we've had, unraveling mysteries, following clues, and piecing together the puzzle step by step. If you've enjoyed joining me on this journey, exploring every twist and turn, do give this video a like to show your support. Share it with fellow mystery lovers who would delight in these curious tales, and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss another adventure full of suspense, clever deductions, and fascinating discoveries.